not established in Alaska. It's expensive to create them, and that cost is passed on to the consumer.
You've got to remember that all of our costs up here are higher, so thereby offsetting a good portion of that difference between the outside price and the local price.
What does this mean to the Alaskan consumer? Washington State, 79 cents. Alaskan, $1.35.
Physical fitness isn't the right of any one generation, it's the responsibility of all. In fact, the older you get, the more you need to be in good condition. It's just as important for our children to take pride in our physical fitness as it is for us to be proud of theirs. Good health has to be a lifetime commitment to the right things: exercise, proper eating, and enough sleep. There are exercise programs all over the country to help you get started. There's no better time than now to turn from fat to fit. Don't just sit there. Do something. Physical fitness is for everyone. Join the winning team.
With all the problems and disappointments that have plagued the farming industry in the state, is there really any hope that Alaska will someday realize its full agricultural potential? Well, the state hasn't given up. In fact, they have started one of the largest farming projects ever seen in Alaska. It's called the Delta Agricultural Project.
We started out with grain because it's simple. It's the first crop that a farmer has to plant when he starts to clear fields, and it's something that will support on a growth scale the infrastructure requirements: financing, the equipment dealers, the equipment repairmen, processing, elevators, transportation networks.
With a strong grain base, officials hope to create large-scale meat production, using the grain as feed for chickens, pigs, and cattle. Agriculture could bloom to a multi-million-dollar industry, creating many jobs for Alaska. This is Alaska's hope. In 1968, the state sold 60,000 acres in the Delta Junction area, some 100 miles south of Fairbanks, to 22 Alaskans. Only agricultural rights were sold, and the landowners are prohibited to use the land for other kinds of development. But this is a new game for Alaska, and problems show up in many areas. Take, for example, the grain elevator in Delta.
The builders here in this country has got a lot to learn about building elevators. This co-op is building these elevators and not understanding, I think, the time involved, the time it takes to set up an elevator.
Ever since this project started, it has been shrouded in public skepticism and controversy.
I think it was an administrative mess.
Right from the beginning, the Delta project got off on the wrong foot. State Ombudsman Frank Flavin was called on to investigate the way the state disposed of the farms.
Well, basically, we found that the Delta project was flawed in a number of areas administratively. One area was in publicity, the second was in the selection of the people that got the farm parcels, and the third area was the legal premise.
At the conclusion of Flavin's report, he writes, and we quote, "Somebody forgot the people. Not the collective Alaskan who everyone patronizes, but that individual, that real person out there with real expectations and real needs. In concern over the viability of the project, we forgot about the needs of the individuals." Not everyone agreed with that analysis.
Well, it was completely in error, quite to the contrary of what the original report said. It was the people that were kept in mind constantly. Did everything that we possibly could to make it fair and to give the project and the individuals within the project the best chance of being successful.
The Special Projects Office, I'm sure, was not delighted with our report. I think their first response was that since this office did not consist of agricultural experts, we had no business reviewing the sale. And my basic response, I grew up on a farm myself, which is more experienced than many of the lottery people who were able to participate in a lottery had. And it doesn't take much agricultural experience to recognize BS when you see it.
The problems have continued. A forest fire threatened the project, and buffalo have found barley more tasty than their natural food, which has attracted them into farmers' fields. But nothing has eroded public confidence in the project more than reports that potential foreign buyers had found Delta barley inferior. The report came from the April 25th edition of the Anchorage Times. The Times quoted a Japanese barley specialist saying the barley was inferior. State officials are adamant the story was neither fair or accurate. Alaska Review investigated. We wanted to find out two things. Is the barley inferior, as reported in the Anchorage Times, or is it a high-quality product that state officials have led people to believe? And are foreign countries interested in buying? Our first step was to obtain a barley sample. Then, to ensure an impartial evaluation of the Delta barley, we had the Washington State Grain Inspection Service conduct a test that would tell us the grade of the sample. There are 5 grades of barley, and the minimum standard that is allowed for export is number 2. The best Alaska could hope for is grade number 1. The worst, number 5. Our grain was evaluated under the skillful hands of Inspector Mike Wegener. The sample was sifted, separated, and weighed. Tests were run to determine the amount of foreign matter and the percent of moisture. The barley even had its temperature taken. Each seed was individually scrutinized. What kind of conclusions can you draw from this test that you've just done?
This sample is number 1 barley, tough, with a 15.6% dockage, or moisture, excuse me.
We left the inspection station and went to Lauk's Testing Laboratories, an independent and highly recommended chemical lab. We asked that a test be done to determine the protein level of our Delta barley. Our sample was ground into a fine powder and mixed with a variety of chemicals. The solution was heated, and the chemicals began to react with one another. I need a sound that starts back noise.
Oh. And that makes it 10.8%.
Armed with our scientific data, we made one last stop. We went to Fisher Mills, a Seattle-based feed company, to get a definitive statement about the quality of Alaskan-grown barley.
This would sell on a world market and compete with other barley exported from the United States very easily.
Once it was determined that the barley was not inferior, Alaska Review went to the Japanese consulate to see if they were interested in buying.
If Alaska wished to export to Japan the barley produced in Alaska, it should be competitive in price and quality, and your state must assure the consistent supply in volumes.
Sending grain overseas is more than just a prospect for Alaska. The barley project is only in its 2nd season, and already an order for 1,000 tons has been placed from Taiwan. There is no question that quality farm products can be grown in Alaska, but whether agriculture can reach its full potential and become an economically viable industry is another question. The festival of fairs that happen around Alaska each year reflect the optimistic hopes many have for the future expansion of Alaskan agriculture.
Hi to our first contestant, Mr. Webster. Are you ready to play, sir? Mr. Webster, pick your whiz quiz topic. What's it going to be?
Economics.
Well, I'll have to ask you to try again, sir, because economics is not one of our topics.
Should be. A lot of EQs could stand improvement.
Of course they could. EQs?
Economic quotients.
Of course, economic quotients. On with the game. Time to play whiz quiz.
Do you know the major cause of inflation?
Well,
a lot of people would have trouble with even a simple economics quiz. How about you? Could your EQ stand improvement? The place to start is your local library. You can learn a lot there about the American economic system and your part in it. Why not stop in soon?
My mother was watching this show.
Sorry, Mom. The American economic system. We should all learn more about it.